Hello everybody, and welcome to this latest in our series of Ask the Experts videos. And today I want to welcome Dante Orsini from our Vision Core partner, iLand. Dante, welcome.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here. Dante is the Vice President of Business Development for iLand and has a lot of exciting developments to discuss with us today, and we're sure you're going to be very interested in them. So first of all, Dante, tell us a little bit about iLand and what its history has been, and what it's been doing in the past and sort of where it is today.
Well, iLand is a cloud infrastructure provider. We've been in the co-location business for a long time. We've been in the space for 15 years. We actually have presence in over 50 data centers globally. But really, 3 years ago, we saw this market start to change a bit. As the demand for capacity and power and cooling all started to change, we really were looking for an additional solution to provide to our customer base. So we went out and we recruited some strong talent around VMware, and we built a virtual infrastructure environment. And the goal was to really provide businesses of all sizes a true enterprise architecture that they could leverage for whatever their requirements were. In the last couple of years, we've been pretty successful. We have 5 data centers in the United States now, and we just opened one in London as well.
You made the strategic decision to leverage virtualization technologies to offer services that essentially you'd been offering for a while, which is the hosting, the cloud infrastructure. But can you tell us a little bit about why that move made such sense for iLand?
Being in the space that we were in, we saw a lot changing with space, power, cooling, but things were changing for customer requirements as well, because customers are always concerned about making sure that they have highly available infrastructure. Their environments have got to be fault tolerant. And we thought that adopting virtualization gave them the ability to do that, but it was at a time where not everybody was absolutely familiar with virtualization. So having a partner that they could lean on to basically provision those environments and manage that side of it, and allow them to continue to operate the way they normally do, and that's manage their applications, made a lot of sense.
You chose to use and incorporate Vision Core's vReplicator solution in your infrastructure, in your offering. Can you talk a little bit about what drove that decision and why you chose vReplicator and are choosing to offer replication to customers at this point? We've
been in the space for a while, but when we first entered this cloud infrastructure space, we deployed a data center in Houston and one in Dallas. So we originally had the ability to replicate, from point A to point B. However, as we continue to grow beyond just those 2 data centers, more often than not, we were also provisioning, both production environments for customers, but we started to see a lot of people say, hey, I've got virtual infrastructure today. I'm a bit ahead of the curve a couple years ago. I've already virtualized. I see the value, but I really don't have the budget or the resources to build and maintain a secondary site. So it made a lot of sense to really work with those customers to come up with a cost-effective way to give them the ability to adopt a disaster recovery solution. And when we went to the market and looked at different solutions, the key, I think, with Replicator, number one, is vReplicator works. So our engineering staff was able to quickly download the trial of that software, install it, test it, and show that it worked. Now, if you take our background and some of the networking elements that I think we're very strong in, we've got a very good understanding of how to deploy that for a customer and give them the ability to take advantage of one of the feature sets, and that's the test mode to the application. So not only protect the virtual workloads and provide that as a cost-effective managed service for the customer, but also having the expertise to set up the network and understand how to deploy that for a customer and set it up so they can non-intrusively test that DR plan. I mean, this is a great time to be involved in technology. Imagine being a small to medium-sized business. You simply don't have the ability to build that enterprise architecture, but now, thanks to this software solution and some of our services, we can bundle that together and create a very strong offering. And it's very compelling.
So if you were speaking to a small to medium-sized business owner right now, and they had traditionally thought that they were not able to afford disaster recovery, or they were neglecting to do it because maybe they didn't have the internal expertise to do it, sort of what would you say directly to them? It's that the time has arrived, you can do it today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that there's a couple areas here that are very interesting. One, it doesn't have to be about virtualization either. Virtualization definitely makes it possible, but we also leverage vConverter for physical environments. So a lot of small businesses are going to have a mix of both. Certain things are not going to be virtualized. So those things that would never be virtualized, like network equipment, we can actually co-locate that. So we've got a very compelling offering there, but if you look at both the physical element and the virtual element, to be able to provide that solution is very powerful. But it's not always the small business that's looking at those types of solutions. We have a lot of partners that are managed service providers, that they're responsible for making sure that their customers their applications are managed and deployed and highly available. And they've been very compelled to work with us. So it's been a great place to be, but I guess the key message to that small business owner or that small regional IT service provider is definitely investigate it. It's not without, it's not out of reach. It's very attainable, and working with a company like ours, along with Vision Core, I think is a great path for them.
So disaster recovery is one key need that iLand addresses. But there's also a need for capacity on demand and flexible resource provisioning. Can you talk a little bit about how iLand provisions that to customers and can address those needs for, say, maybe larger customers that are just looking for that additional ramp up when they need it?
There's a couple different ways that we can do that. We have some folks that are looking for the most cost-effective way to make that happen. Really giving somebody the ability to securely access those resources. That's the first priority. The second priority is, do you want a flexible model that says I can start with a pool of resources and scale those resources on demand? How much control do you need over that environment? How segregated does that environment need to be? These are all questions that, each customer has different requirements. And I think that's why we've been successful in the space, is we really understand what the customer's requirements are, and then we build the solution around those requirements. So for instance, capacity on demand. We have some folks, for them that means I need a private cloud environment where I have my own cloud that I've built, I've got my own infrastructure, but I also need a secure place because I don't want to be in the infrastructure business. I'd rather build that capacity with someone else to my spec when I need it. I think that's the opposite end of the spectrum. I think really the middle market here is a lot of people want the ability to securely allocate those resources and scale them, and that's something we do as well. So we call that a resource cloud versus a private cloud.
So right now, iLand is using Vision Core's vReplicator solution. Do you guys have any plans to use any of Vision Core's other products in your offerings?
Absolutely. I think that there's a couple areas of interest. One, you just talked about dynamically scaling resources, capacity on demand, the private cloud, the resource cloud. I mean, there's a lot of need to provide different solutions and a lot of feature functionality. And I think that vFoglight provides a lot of that functionality for monitoring the environment. That's very powerful. The other piece that I think that is very attractive is the Ranger product. vRanger really gives us the ability not only to extend that to our customers, to give them the ability to back up, but we can provide more managed backup services by leveraging that product. So I know that our engineering staff is obviously been working very closely with your engineering staff, and so far everything's been great, so we're excited.
And so are we. And I think that a lot of you out there can get very excited about iLand's offerings as well. And there's a lot more information about iLand's products and Vision Core's products on both of our sites. And again, Dante, thank you very much for joining us today. And we'll be talking to you again very soon, I'm sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace.